and also participated in the Harvard debate tournament. So I'm well-rounded in terms of MUN and debate. So if you have any questions in relation to that, please make sure you ask me. In terms of MUN training, I was an advisor at BHS MUN. So stay tuned to the session, and please make sure you listen and engage with me. Okay, so we'll start right now. Okay, so this is the fourth session for Model United Nations. Okay, so we'll start with role play. So what is role play? So, okay, so when you're in a Model United Nations conference or any other simulation program, you're role playing. You're basically acting like another person. You're representing, let's say, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, okay, or the prime minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez. Okay, so you're actually someone, okay, and you're actor. Okay, so in role playing, you have to stay in character. Okay, so basically, character is let's say a prime minister. You have to act like that prime minister. You have all of their views, all of their ambitions. Okay, it's not your opinion anymore, it's their opinion. It's the opinion of the country you're representing. Let's say you're representing okay, a country that is against women's rights. Okay, but you're like an activist. Okay, you're a women's rights activist. You cannot say that you are with women's rights. This country, the country you're representing, is against women's rights. Okay, so you have to always advocate for the cause of your country and not your personal views. You know, like those 2 days, two-day conference. This 2-day conference should be someone else's persona and not you. It's not your character; it's their character. Okay. And it is very important actually engage in role play because first of all, it engages you more in the actual conference, and it actually shows within the MUN conference. You know, so if you have the view cause, you will show more credibility, you would show more authenticity in your words. Now, but what does that mean? Like, how could be a good representative, okay, in terms of role play? So first of all, you have to research a lot. You have to research your country's decisions, thoughts. Okay, you have to research what's going on, you know, because you cannot say something that your country is against. Okay, I'm trying to give an example. Let's say in terms of let's say in terms of Arab countries. Okay, let's say so many Arab countries, including let's say Saudi Arabia, are not for freedom of religion, for example. You know, like you cannot you cannot express your thoughts in a good way, okay, if you're not like from that certain religion. So if you're saying that we're with that and we're with that and we're with freedom of religion and all of that, thoughts and beliefs. So how am I a prime minister of a country and I'm against the country's moral values? Okay, so you get out of your moral box and go to the moral box of that country by researching their stances. Okay, you cannot come to a conference without researching. This is very important. And okay, so Also, delegates need to stay in character for the entirety of the two day conference, and thus practicing and so you're negotiating, okay? You're negotiating throughout the conference, and you have to always remember that you are not you, okay? You're not you. You're someone else, okay? And this is very important, okay? Again and again, this is very important because this highlights your presence. During an MUN conference, you have to know that you have to highlight your presence throughout the conference, okay? You have to present your country in a good way, and you have to represent it in a way that wouldn't form contradictions or arguments, because anyone could pull out any argument and pretty much contradict you. For example, during the MAL conference, it was about corruption in the Arab world, and there was a crisis. So basically, anti-corruption strategies and stuff like that. So there was a crisis. There was a crisis about UAE princess. So basically, the UAE authorities hid a lot of media thoughts and ideas, and they censored them. And then the delegate of the UAE said that there are so many laws in terms of freedom of speech and stuff like that. But we all know that the UAE, according to different rankings, ranks low in terms of freedom of speech and thought. So a delegate came up and was like, "This is the actual ranking. This is not true," you know. And the commissioner added to that. So that contradicted his thoughts. So and then role playing failed. All of that. You have to know all of those stances, and you cannot create your own stances. You cannot create a country stance out of the blue. Okay. For the role play part, all right? Now, how to prepare a speech. Now, okay. In terms of speech writing, speeches are very important during opening speeches, which are the ones you deliver at the beginning of the conference, and then there are the moderated caucuses speeches, okay, and it depends on your simulation program. And okay, so in order to and there are impromptu speech are basically a type of speech. Yeah, it's a type of speech which is on the spot and not previously prepared. Now, I'm gonna first talk about the prepared speech. Okay, an opening speech or any other speech, it doesn't matter, should follow this strategy. So first of all, you should have a hook. So a hook is basically you should grab the audience or like the representative's attention to your speech. Because if you start with a bad hook, I'm not going to listen to you. For example, okay, if I'm a delegate at a conference, I'm going to get, it's not interesting. Even the chair won't focus on the main topics you're listening, because it's very boring. No one cares, If you're not giving that impression, no one cares about it. Okay. If so that hook should include something that is interesting, like a question, a rhetorical question, or a quotation, a quote by something related. Okay, so for example, don't give a quote that is completely not related to the topic, or don't give a quote by someone that is not, let's say, or like the committee. Okay. This is very important. Also, facts and startling statistics. Give shocking statistics. For example, if you're talking about, if you have a humanitarian cause, okay, and you're talking about, let's say, a certain about child labor, okay, and a good hook would be a startling fact of the number of the percentage of child labor in let's say, okay? And this is how you startle your audience. You grab their attention to this problem, to this conflict that's going on. Interesting, because once you give something that is shocking, people are gonna get excited. People are gonna get like, I want to solve this problem. I want to listen through. I want to do all of that. Let's say a story. Now, a short story is very important once also tackling humanitarian topics such as the kafala system. If we're talking about the kafala system, you could give an example of a domestic worker in the Arab world, let's say, and you could portray her sufferings and all of that. Okay, and that would actually attract the audience's attention, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. So if you're okay, number two is the purpose. Now, after the hook, after introducing your speech, you have to go to the purpose. Why are you delivering that speech? Okay. So I have this strategy that I always use. So after the hook, I state one thing that my country has done in relation to in relation to the topic, and also I give by that it would be an evidence for stance. Like let's say we have let's say the WTO reforms, okay, the World Trade Organization reforms, okay, and we want to give the purpose part. So you would say something that your country has done. For example, Pedro Sanchez has conducted a meeting and talked with the Secretary General of the United Nations about that. Okay, all of that. I'm just giving an example. Okay, and then you say that shows that our country, Spain, for example, believes in valid reforms for the purpose of what? Why are we tackling this topic? Okay, so first start with an evidence, or you can start like our country believes. Okay, and that is shown by an evidence. Okay, and you state why is it important? Why is it important for the international community? Okay, or let's say if you're giving a subtopic speech. Okay, subtopic speech. Also the same format, just more specific. Okay, let's say you're talking about the Polisario and the Moroccan conflict. Okay, and I don't know if you know this conflict. It's a conflict between Morocco and the Polisario Front, or the Western Sahara, Africa, and it's a very hot topic now because it's been there for years, and like some countries recognize it, or some institutions actually recognize it. For example, the United Nations recognizes the Western Sahara as a active state, while the Arab League doesn't recognize it at all, but the African Union does recognize it. Okay, so that's just a general overview. Okay, so if you're talking about like the subtopic of natural resources in your country, let's say is let's say it's Nigeria. Okay, like Nigeria is with the Polisario Front. It conducted a conference about that and that and that. Okay, and that shows our positive stance towards that topic. Is it important because they need because those natural resources are on their land and they were there before, whatever. Okay, and lastly we have the call for action. Okay, so the call for action is basically the part where you suggest your own solution. For you guys, okay, once you're in a MUN conference, okay, you've already written your position paper, right? You get the solutions on the position paper, okay, and you put them in the, because they're very brief, okay, you put them in the call for action. Okay, you start by as a result, or in a nutshell, we call for international negotiation on such a stance, whatever. Okay, you write that and you put it in your once there is like the unmoderated caucus and you want to debate on like putting the resolutions. Okay, you put that resolution inside and you elaborate on it. Okay, and that in that way you would show the chair that this is your resolution because you put it in the speech, and you're gonna put it again in the draft resolution. If it's a very good solution. Okay, if it's a very good solution, put it in your speech and then suggest it in an elaborated way in the during the part. Okay, and also another advice I could give you is that before the conference, put all of your resolutions on like a piece of paper, or if it's online, for example, get an iPad or something, write them down, okay, on a Word document, and like just pin like points, like just pin like bullet points on like the elaborated parts. Okay, so that's a recommendation for you. So first of all, the hook, you give a startling fact or a question or a quotation or a story. Okay, purpose, you give an evidence. You give also a give an evidence. Okay, why is it important for you and international, your stance towards that? And then lastly, you call for action. You give a solution, one of the solutions in relation to the subtopic. In the terms of opening speech, once you're starting your speeches in the conference, I would suggest giving a general overview on the solutions. Okay, so tackle natural resources. You're gonna tackle women's rights. Or women activism. You're gonna tackle climate change. Okay, all of let's say those three. You say that our country will tackle various aspects by collaboration. What are you gonna tackle and by what? By collaboration, by forming new UN bodies, okay, by that and that and that, for the purpose of 1, 2, 3, those purposes or subtopic. Okay, so it's a general speech. You should be very general in terms of that. Okay, so in terms of impromptu, before that, okay, could someone just give us like a for example? I wanna listen to you guys.
Guys, please feel free to open your mics and participate.
What should the speech be about? What topic?
Any topic you want. Any topic.
Okay. In front of gas stations, lines that extend for kilometers, cars that wait for them to get some gas. This is the prominent story that every Lebanese person goes through on a day-to-day basis. Sit there for hours on end, waiting in the hot sun just so they can get some gas. And this has been a very prominent and dangerous situation and problem that Lebanon has been going through recently. And for some political stances and some political views, this problem is being held aside for personal gain by politicians, by all politicians alike. This problem should be addressed immediately, and some help should be called for, since the Lebanese people are suffering much more than what they should be going through, and their day.
Okay, that is a good sample speech. So your friend over here mentioned a hook. Okay, about you can say a story. Okay, and then this topic should be addressed. Okay, and I think like he didn't mention like a representative, of course, because there are no representatives right now. But he mentioned like the three parts and why and how it should be addressed and stuff like. Okay, let's continue. All right. Okay. Impromptu speeches. Now, impromptu speeches are that are created on spot or during the conference. Okay, it is not prepared. Okay, and they're very important after, for example, unmoderated caucuses because you're, let's say, repeating what was mentioned. Okay, and or for a subtopic that just popped up. Okay, and first of all, it starts with an introduction. You start with the hook, okay, as we discussed before, like a brief introduction, and then you start with the body, like just form them in your mind. Okay, start with a hook. Always start with the hook, please. Okay, for example, let's say you're addressing the let's say you're talking about the unmoderated caucus and what happened. Mention a hook about collaboration. Let's say you're the EU bloc. Mention a quote about on the collaboration between the EU members and how it's very important for your whatever. Okay. And then there is the body. Okay, the body is what you discuss. Let's say, okay, or the claim, reason, evidence, and then okay, restate everything and summarize it in a well-mannered way. Okay, and it's an impromptu speech. It is very important to be very confident. Do not worry. Okay, whatever happens, just like laugh it out. In that way. And just be confident. This is impromptu speeches are all about confidence. Okay, you're speaking. Speak as if you're talking with your friends. Like, just talk as if you're talking to your fellow classmates or a friend of yours. Okay, and you want to send a message. Okay, you won't like prepare a speech if you're talking with your friend about a certain topic. Okay. All right. So we'll start by discussing public speaking. Can someone tell me how do you define public speaking? How do you define public speaking? Anyone?
Public speaking is mainly to give a speech in front of an audience in the public.
Okay, so to give a speech, okay, in front of the public. Okay. Any other definition?
It's how you portray yourself.
Okay, so public speaking is basically it is basically speaking. Okay, it's speaking, the skill of speaking in front of an audience in order to inform, persuade, or entertain. All right, so public speaking is the most important skill you should have. Okay, because wherever you go, if you show that public speaking skill, you're a good and knowledgeable, well-rounded person. Okay, and it would be clearly shown. Okay, so earning the skill of public speaking is critical, since the speaker to convince the crowd with his ideas. The speaker will also be able to motivate other people, which will be very useful in teamwork and leadership. And the speaker will be able to inform the audience in a clear and understandable way. This is especially important once we're talking about MUN, where you have to deliver various types of speeches regarding a specific topic, and a certain you are going to portray, and once you have the purpose of public speaking. Why are you going to speak? Okay, why are you going to speak today? If you're speaking to inform, okay, you should add facts, statistics, all of that. If you're speaking to persuade or to persuade your audience, you should add arguments, and the organization should be order of importance. Okay, if you're entertaining, which is not like the actual thing, once we're talking about MUN conferences, you should add humor, opinions, and stuff. Okay, so public speaking is the articulation or the or speaking in front of people. Okay, a set of audience in order to send or deliver or convey a message. Okay, now. How are we going to deliver a speech, and how are we going to be good orators? An orator is a term frequently used for a perfect public speaker, and if you go back to ancient Rome, there's a philosopher called Cicero, and he actually conducted the main pillars of public speaking and how a perfect orator should be. Okay, this is like a bit background in terms of public speaking. Okay, okay. In terms of how to deliver a speech, okay, there are verbal components, there are nonverbal components, and paraverbal components. Now, in terms of verbal components, we have examples. Okay, so you should give examples throughout your speech. Very, very important to give examples, real life examples that are going on in your country, or specific examples of your experiences as, let's say, a representative. Okay, if we jump to evidence, that should be through facts and statistics from credible sources. Okay, look, this is very important. I'm gonna highlight this. Once you're researching for credible sources, okay, credible sources are like are not like, refuted in any way, shape, or form, because create evidence, and never use Wikipedia, because anyone could go and edit. Now just search and edit. Okay, you can go on Wikipedia and go down. There are like websites, and you can check those websites and always search for endings like .org, org, or .edu, or .gov. Okay, because those are objective. If you want to research subjective websites, only for opinions. Okay, like, I'm not saying don't go on a website that is subjective, but I'm saying don't get information from them. Okay, because you can get an opinion in order to know your opposition stance, but you cannot go on there and get information, because that wouldn't be very credible. Let's say you researched a Russian biased website about nuclear weapons. Of course, they will flatter themselves. And if you go to a USA website, they will flatter themselves, right? So if you're USA, you're gonna research Russia as well, because you would get the other side stance, okay? And the neutral part, because the neutral part would give you the actual sources, and you would be you'd easily refute the Russian part. Okay, a specific example. Sorry. Okay. Then we have the negatives. Okay, so the negatives are basically just for emphasis. Biotechnological weapons remain not a future dream, but are a present nightmare amidst this progression. This is a negative, okay? And lastly, your country's personal experience, and it is with the example, okay? It is similar to the example. Any personal experience your country has gone through, or anything like that. For verbal components could also be imagery, figurative language, okay, anything that would be very colorful, but do not add a lot of it, because it would be very poetic. Okay, so So just add like slight imagery in terms of that, okay, in order to startle your listeners. Then we can go to nonverbal components. Everything that is shown through cam or through your gestures. So first of all, we have apparel. Apparel is your dress code, what you're wearing. Always know that during an MUN conference, you should be very formal because you are a politician or a prime minister, okay, or a representative or a delegate. Usually delegate in actual UN conferences are dressed in a modest way, dressed in a respectful, formal way with a suit for guys and a vest for girls. Okay, and this is for the apparel. If we're going to hand gestures, do not excessively use hand gestures. It's just unintentional. I'm using them right now. But yeah, hand gestures are very important to show your presence, but do not excessively use them. And you can highlight your stance using the hand gestures. Okay, always know that. Because okay, look, once you're around a group of people, everyone learns in a different way. Some people are auditory, some people are visual learners, whatever. So once you're addressing the hand gestures, you're addressing the visual learners. Also, the posture. You have to practice your posture. Once you're practicing your speech, also practice your posture. Like stand against the wall and practice your speech. Okay, get your get your posture ready, because that would show self-confidence. Eye contact, always look at everyone. Okay, you're addressing the whole audience, not a specific person. Facial expression, like the wow, the don't be like, don't show a smile once you're talking about something that is. Don't show sadness when you're talking about something optimistic. Okay, so let your facial expressions follow your tone or how you're addressing in terms of your speech. Okay. Paraverbal. Okay, paraverbal components include the tone. Okay, as we said, your attitude. Okay, throughout you could be pessimistic, optimistic, supportive towards the topic, etc. The speed. Okay, do not be very, very fast, and do not be very, very moderate speed. Okay, in order to show your stand, presence in a very clear way. Okay, and also in terms of speed, it could change. Maybe in some points you should be sad. Okay, for example, the death of someone. Okay, and then you have the pitch, whether a low pitch or a high pitch. Okay, and that is when you're actually like presenting something that is very startling. You should have a very high pitch, and if you're presenting, let's say, something that is very calm, very something that is kind of sad, just use a very low pitch. Not like a museum voice. That's, everyone could listen to you, but also not very high. Okay, and during neutral incidents, just be very moderate. Articulation, pronunciation, and stuff like that. Always practice those words, practice those names, saying those words and names, and I think that would be very fine. And those are for paraverbal components, so tone, speed, pitch, and articulation. Okay, and that is for those. All right, so before you guys leave, I'm just gonna mention a few tips that I could give you in terms of MUN and all of that. Always be ready. Okay, always get your binders, and I suggest printing out everything. Although now during that economic crisis, it's kind of expensive, but try getting your resources next to you, okay, and highlight them. Everything, use color coding. And also, once you're working with your background guide, I'm going to give you that tip that I use. So use your background guide not as research, use it as a research guide, okay? Use it as a research guide. Get 3 colors with you, 3 highlighter colors, okay? And highlight the most important things in terms of, okay, like let's say yellow is for the important parts, green is for proposed resolutions maybe, and pink is for further research, okay? So in order to, and in that way you would know what you're researching. You could read it before and you could read it throughout, but never use it as your research source. Use it as a research guide, okay? So research every point that is mentioned, and do not read the whole article. Okay, so let's say you're researching, do not read the whole article. Skim through, and if you find that it's relevant, read it. If you don't find that it's relevant, just don't read it. And I'm just giving you research, okay? And let's say you're researching, okay? Go through multiple parts, okay? Multiple pages. And this is in terms of research. In terms of public speaking, I always give that tip that in terms of public speaking, speak or converse as if you're talking to a friend. Okay, have that idea in mind, that you're not actually here, to win. Just have it, and you'll eventually win, to be honest, because that would be very nerve-wracking. So just be very chill about it. Okay, go there, talk to them. Give your well-mannered way. Change your tone. Be influential. Be inspiring. Inspire them. Okay, show that you are here to solve the issue. You're not here just to to be present and leave. Show them that you are here to debate the issue, to solve the issue in actual concrete manner. Okay, always use all of your senses once delivering your speech. Okay, show them that you're engaging. Show them that you are present there. Okay, show them documents. Show them actual evidence. Because if you're saying, let's say if someone says, I'm talented, I'm passionate, I'm whatever. Okay, but where's the evidence? Unless that person gives us true concrete evidence that you're great and whatever, I'm not gonna believe you, right? And the same goes to country statements and country stances. If you will say that my country is great, my country, you're being just absolute, like Donald Trump, basically. Donald Trump goes on stage or goes on the podium, just says my country is great, America is great, let's do that, let's do this, and then there's no evidence for that. You're not giving actual concrete evidence. You're just being boastful, and this is what we don't want. Get actual documents, okay? Like get your device, okay? Show them the graphs. Show them, explain the graph to them, analyze the graph in front of them, and give them a conclusion, okay? Don't just give an abstract resource whatever. Give them, let's say you're talking about the developments in terms of the World Trade Organization. Get a resource, okay? Get a resource. Show them, okay? Show them what's going on, okay? Show them the how it's going, how it's increasing, how it's decreasing through time, and prove your point through that, okay? If it's increasing from 1 to 10. Okay, show them that this is how I'm validating my point. Okay, and once you're, for example, negotiating on a certain resolution, show them why your opinion in that is true by giving them actual concrete evidence and by giving them geopolitical facts or political facts that would actually convince them. Right, like. I was in a conference this year model good governance, and it was about the reform of the WTO. And during the moderated caucus, we were talking about we were talking and discussing about a certain resolution, and that resolution was about developing countries and how like in the WTO there's no actual classification for developing and non-developing countries, and developing countries take more privileges in that. So any country could come and self-classify itself as developing, although it could be developed. Let's say China is considered as a developing country in the WTO, but in reality, it's a developed country in terms of trade and economics. So the European Union and the USA always show concern in relation to that. So a debate was held in which what resolution should be given, and according to a geopolitical perspective, the resolution that was lastly given was dividing the developing countries between upper developed and lower developed, and tackling what is important, what is in both. Like let's say that country lacks this. You're giving the upper developing countries less privileges than the other ones, and then you have the more developed countries. So classifying. That was like a resolution that was debated upon, because the other side said that they wanna remove the whole classification, and they wanna depend on general indices. But the argument there was that those indices wouldn't be very, because because the general scale does not give the whole economic or trade policies. There are so many, and you have to look at so many as well. So we combine both of them on a middle ground, in order to receive the most important from here, and in order to receive the most important from this resolution, combining them on a middle ground, which is very important for negotiation. And then we had this actual resolution that would actually be efficient, and it was parts from there, good parts from there, and put the good parts in one resolution. We neglected the bad parts. Okay, those are general in relation to that. Do you guys have any questions? You guys have any questions?
Guys, if you have any questions and you can't open your mic, you can type them in the chat box.
سمعنا؟
Yes.
هلا أنا يعني أنا منيحة بالإنجليش بس مش كتير يعني إنه هلا هو شوي سؤال منفصل بس أوكي. ممكن أنت تكون محضر سبيتش وكذا هيك، بس أنا كيف تقدر خلص إنه دغري تحكي كل شي بالإنجليزي من دون ما تدخل ولا كلمة عربي يعني؟
Your English. Try speaking English more often with your friends, or your classmates and stuff like that. Engage more during if you're taking, let's say, English classes. Engage more in that. You could speak with actual foreigners. You could meet online friends, and they could help you. There are so many places where you could practice your English. Okay, there are also applications, online applications that would help you.
Okay, thank you.
I believe nobody has any other questions. Okay, so I'll take that silence as a yes. So thank you so much, Youssef, for the session and for the tips you provided. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, you guys, for attending. And we'll see you in the next session on Thursday, hopefully. And yeah, so the session is dismissed, and thank you guys again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any questions or inquiries, just contact me on my number because I think all of you guys have my number. Okay.